Good morning, Professor. This is Sylvia Manriquez. I'm sending you a video in regards to my social emotional learning in Chicago suburbs. My paper and my study has been on our schools here in Chicago. I have my notes, so if you see me walking, like looking into the side, is because I have my notes so I won't forget anything. Our first detail is about the problem that we initiated in Chicago, and the reason our my thesis of it. I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. Uh, Social emotional learning began in our schools because of all in Chicago because of all the domestic and social learning in schools. There's a lot of violence. I pinpointed one area which I work in because I'm more personalized to it. So in our community, and it happens in all of Chicago schools, with not exception of any of the outer suburbs or rural areas, but it's happening all across the board, and I'm sure it's happening in nationwide in other states. Maybe a little different, but it's happening and it's causing much trauma and mental illness to our students. In our community now, there is much violence, whether it's domestic or it's social. And currently, now with ICE coming into our cities, into our states, there is more trauma to not necessarily just the brown people, but also black, white, cultural, ethnical, different countries, different ethnicities. Everyone is being traumatized. Children are do not know how to problem solve, how to distress from all this emotional chaos that is happening. They cannot deal with those issues, and now it's piling up more. How do I solve this problem? How do I deal with my emotions? And they don't understand their emotions either. Without any of the social emotional classes or blocks that we have in our classes, in our schools, in our classrooms, students would not be able to function. It would be the cause of many mental illnesses. Kids would not feel safe or secure, emotional distress. Uh, they need the skills for that relief to be able to deal with many of the issues and prevent many behavioral problems that are happening in our classrooms. In the past, schools faced academic challenges. They were not focused to learn. They were not ready to learn. They were misbehaving. Uh, we didn't understand what was happening in their home life, or at least in a personal level, we couldn't understand that. And they couldn't identify it either. They couldn't identify that problem or explain to us how to problem solve. All their grades were very low. They were not focused. Mental issues, health problems, neglect. Um, Teachers just couldn't teach. Teachers, staff, administration, they couldn't teach. They could not have the school function in a proper way, or even attempt to give them a different sight of a different world of whatever happened at home, how to solve those problems at home, and not necessarily say, oh, what happens at home, it's okay, and that happens at home, and don't do that in school. School is a different life. Yes, we want to promote school to be a safe and secure place for them to feel, and maybe block off what's happening at home, but encourage them to be able to express those feelings to us. And maybe we can go ahead and help them how to solve those problems, how to identify them, how to problem solve, how to find relief, even if it's for that moment in time, to be able to distress and feel safe. Uh, SEL programs were then built in our curriculum to create skills, their own awareness of it, have empathy for them, for themselves, and compassion, not only for teachers, for staff, for administrators, but also for their families. And we provided, and many of the schools have opened that door to provide those circle groups for parents, circle groups for children, especially in middle school, where they're a bit more aware of what's happening, but still cannot find the focus or the problem solving or identifying or even articulate what is happening. Sets of different circles were made depending on what kind of issues they were facing, so they won't feel alone, they feel supported, and it's been able to function. It was entered in our curriculum and it was implemented in part of our block units every day to improve any of the social things that were happening, any academics, or any mental issues that were happening with our children, with our students. I'm sorry. Uh, a block of time, areas in the classroom, which we call calm areas, and check ins, daily check ins. Daily check ins is great, especially for the little ones. Um, I guess for all ages, right? It's just implemented a little different. It looks a little different, and they're able to tell us how they feel today. Sometimes we don't know. They come in and they're crying, and we can say, "Oh, parents didn't put them to sleep early. They don't have a routine. Why? Why don't they have a routine? What's happening in their home?" It's not sometimes because they're lazy. There are other issues at home that's happening to them. It might be normal, and not understand the trauma that's happening to our students. So we have to do a check-in. It doesn't matter what age, we have to do a check-in. They could tell us, and we build that trust with them where they can say, "This is what's happening. What do I do?" Or we can begin identifying what is happening. What should they do? And it works a little different. Sometimes they cannot calm down and be able to think. We have calm areas in our classrooms, and this is for every grade level. They look a little different, but sometimes they just need to step away. Sometimes they can't deal with the noise. They can't deal with the daily routine, so they step away. We have blocks of time in our class where we do lessons, and it can be just as simple as how to share, um, polite manners, identifying what's the difference of hitting. That's a big one. Sensory issues. What's the difference of hitting? Some kids believe that any tap, oh, they're hitting me, they're abusing me. Where it could just be like a nice, sensitive, sensible, gentle touch of maybe concern, of care, of compassion, of empathy, um, or even just playing tag. Just playing tag. They don't understand the difference of touch. To a lot of these students, touch is violence. Touch is pain, and they don't know how to reflect that. Um, that brings me over to different other cultures, how to be aware of what their traditions, their cultures, their ethnicity is, because for some cultures, it's not okay to show emotion. It's not. It's not okay to feel sensitive. It's not. It's okay to suppress all of that and keep it to themselves. Maybe it worked in the past, but as they grew, some of the adults still do not know how to say what they're feeling, how to articulate those thoughts, those emotions, and say, "How do I turn off the switch? How do I turn on the switch? How do I fix that?" Those are problem solving skills that are taught when they're little, and say, "Hey, maybe you need some breathing. Maybe you need to talk to someone. Maybe you need to find some other type of outreach to help you," because there is no switch that just happens instantly. There isn't. The downgrade of expression in some cultures are very difficult, and it's very difficult for us to say, "Okay, well, let's just go against them and let's try this." No, we have to find what could be culturally acceptable and helping. And that may be teaching parents, teaching families. This is why we do it. There are consequences, it leads them to a different path. We want them to be able to express this in case in the future. And not only that, you're trying to build this child, this student, for to live life as a person with or without you. What do they do when they have these challenges? Therefore, social emotional skills, social emotional learning, social emotional lifestyle in our schools, focused on Chicago, focused on the communities that are in severe trauma with violence, drugs, domestic issues, social issues. Now we have ICE in the picture. We have kids, families who are scared to be outside. And not only when they're outside, not only are they being shot and killed in the schools, they are being shot in the streets. Now they are being taken in the streets, and kids are left behind. How do you explain that to them? How do you say what's okay, what's not okay, what's right, what's wrong, when they're having all these mixed information happening on TV, on the radio? People, obviously, families are scared. Maybe some families are supportive and saying, hey, that's okay. So we need to go ahead and find out with them and talk to them and see what what lifestyle. Find it relatable. Try to find some kind of ethical reasoning and just show them empathy and compassion and putting themselves in that other person's shoes and build a culture of safety, security, and trust in our classroom. And the end result, they should be able to, or hopefully they're able to find peace within themselves, focus in school, be be able to have empathy for their peers. Everyone has a story. Be patient, listen, speak nice to each other, try to be a good person, and overall academically be successful in progress. We're not looking for perfection, we're just looking for progress. Our ultimate goal is to try and give them, I want to say, change their lives, um, but we're changing their lives academically, socially, emotionally. So let's do it. That's what my focus was. I work in a school that we have high trauma. These children's minds are so strong because they have gone through so many issues that I would not be able to go through them, not even now as an adult, because they see so many issues. It's incredible. I have to confess that virtual learning was awesome for me. It was successful. But that opened the door to their homes. And it's so sad how some of these children live, and that's their norm. And might be okay, you know, and we can't expect them to live a traditional lifestyle, what everybody does, right? But neglect and emotional harassment, violence, pain, causing them pain, it's not okay. It's not okay. Whether it's in any culture, it's not okay. But we have to try finding something that's, you know, a balance between cultures, right, and traditions and ethnicity, and see and work as a team to be able to help each other. And it could be a little bit challenging, but we can. But I hope that I was able to express that I do understand the topic of the social emotional learning in the schools, why it began, why it's happening now, what we are doing in the school to be able to help. And my conclusion of all is to be able just to help them progress in school, progress in life, and become good people. Thank you, and I hope this worked out great. Thank you. Have a good day.